all for coming out today to River Sage Farm cook-off. Cook-off. I guess I win.
My muscadine grape jelly is actually Scuppernong, which is a variety of muscadine grapes. And it's the white grapes. So they have the red and the white, and so this is the white variety. We had a nice little bumper crop of
Pretty much everything this year. We also keep these, so I've got a little bit of honey left, and I'll be using that in the recipe as well. So right now, I'm just basically, this is a one skillet, super easy dish that you can do with some options. There's some things, if you have allergies or if you're vegetarian, you can make some changes. You don't necessarily have to use chicken at all. You can use tofu. You can go completely without. I like to serve it over rice. So I've got basmati rice here that has been just on low, warm, kind of staying warm. And once it's done, if you don't have any food allergies, the ingredient list complete is here. So I'm going to get this warmed up, and I'm going to go to the high heat. If you're using a skillet, do that on the stove. Get the skillet warmed up nice and high. And I like to use something that's specially made for high heat. This olive oil you're going to smoke, you might have problems with it, but this stuff is safflower and avocado oil, and you can use the higher heat. So we're just going to give a little bit of a splash here. And when it starts snapping and popping, I know it's time to get started. I've got the chicken on ice, and it has been marinating for about 20 minutes in a marinade made of low sodium soy sauce and freshly cut ginger. And if you've never smelled freshly cut ginger, we can pass this around because it is so different from what you get in a jar. And then we also have, and you may or may not want to pass this one around, the freshly crushed garlic. There's a couple things that are like no excuses for me, and the freshly cut ginger and garlic are a couple of those things. So we're going to get this going. There we go. That sounds good. I'm going to reduce the heat down to 350, but we want to give the chicken a nice sear. If you wanted to have a crispy crust on the chicken, you would not use so much soy sauce. Marinate it, drain it off, toss it in a little cornstarch. That way when you fry it, you'll get that nice brown crispy crust on your chicken. So we're just going with the fresh herbs and spices, low sodium soy sauce, and lean chicken broth. Really get the chicken cooked through, because as soon as it's getting there, we're going to start putting in the other vegetables. We want to keep it up high for this. I'm at 375 right now. So the next things we're adding is the green peppers. We do not want these to be mushy, so we're keeping it up nice and high. So we're doing peppers and onions, and I just mostly quarter the onions in pretty big chunks because they will break apart. So we're going to give this a nice hot stir fry before we start adding the next ingredient, which is going to be the sweet part. So for the sweet, I am going to use a tablespoon of this amazing, wonderful dark wildflower honey or more. And normally I would use a little 2 teaspoons of the brown sugar, but I'm going to reduce that because I went a little crazy with the. And you'll see these measurements are a good idea, but they're kind of a suggestion. You're going to make this your own like you do with everything. So here's our sweet. I'm going to let that melt in, and these look great. And we're going to also add the jelly. The jelly's kind of goopy, and I'm not going to. Don't do this to me. We're using the whole thing. But you'll notice it's going to melt right down super fast. Next we add the fruit. It's a very sweet pineapple, so we got even more sweet. Put in a little bit of the juice, because why not? And then we actually pitted fresh cherries. These are sour because they are out of season. So there's our sour today. That will actually help offset some of that really sweet stuff I just added. Now you'll notice
that this is still kind of thin. That's okay for now. We're going to let it go in a perfect world about 2 minutes. Let it get back up to temp. We need to get it sizzling, boiling again. And then we are going to add my secret ingredient, which is not that secret.
This is basically cornstarch mixed with some warm water. It keeps settling, so I'm stirring and stirring it.
But the sauce right now, if you put it over your rice, it's going to kind of look like soup. So that is what we're trying to avoid. So we're going to give it a couple of minutes.
As soon as this gets back up to temp, you'll see it start thickening up. As you make something like this, you can make it your own. I just like using the jelly as a base because it's so, you don't have to think about it. Even, if you didn't want to use, I know some people will use red peppers instead of green peppers, or the different kinds of onions. Some people do it with no cherries at all. But this seems pretty good. I think that with the rice, we're going to be good to go. So I'm going to put this down on warm. Anybody, would anybody like to try some of this? And I want to thank you all for coming out today to River Sage Farm cook-off. I guess I win.